Ever wonder why you act the way you do in your closest relationships? What if I told you there's actually a kind of psychological map that explains all of that? Well, there is. It's called attachment theory, and honestly, it is one of the most powerful tools out there for understanding your own inner world. So today, let's unfold that map together.
All right, let's start with a little thought experiment. Just for a second, I want you to think back to a time you were really scared or hurt or just deeply lonely. What was your first gut-level instinct? Was it to reach out? Grab the phone and call someone, your mom, your partner, a best friend? Or did you feel the complete opposite? That powerful urge to just shut down, handle it all by yourself because reaching out felt, I don't know, pointless? Maybe even a little shameful? Okay, so whatever your answer was, that impulse, whether it's to connect or to pull away, that is the voice of your attachment system. It's a really fundamental part of who you are. So the big question is, where does this powerful, almost automatic programming even come from?
Well, to answer that, we actually have to go back in time. Picture this. It's London in the 1950s. There's a psychologist, John Bowlby, and he's working with kids who are separated from their parents, evacuated during the war or stuck in hospitals. And he started noticing something really disturbing. These kids, they had everything they physically needed. They were fed, they were warm, they were safe, but they were just sort of fading away. They became listless, lost interest in everything, and they were getting sick all the time.
So Bowlby came to this conclusion that, for his time, was just groundbreaking. He realized that for a child to actually survive and thrive, physical care just isn't enough. He said they have this vital biological need for a stable, warm, and emotionally available adult, a need that's every bit as crucial as food or shelter. Think about that.
And this is what led him to identify what he called the attachment system. The best way to think about it is like a pre-installed program, factory settings in every single human baby. And its one and only job? To keep you close, physically and emotionally, to a caregiver. Because when you're a tiny, helpless infant, being close literally means survival.
Now, this trusted caregiver, they play two really crucial roles. The first one is what Bowlby called a secure base. I love this metaphor. It's like a human springboard. When a kid knows deep down that they have this solid base to come back to, they feel safe enough to launch themselves out into the world, to explore, to take risks, and to learn.
And the second role? That's the safe haven. So if the secure base is the springboard, the safe haven is the safe harbor you can sail back to when the seas get rough, when the world feels overwhelming or scary. It's the person you run to for comfort, for reassurance, knowing you'll be protected. Without that, a kid's world can just feel like it's completely crumbling.
Okay, so right about now you might be thinking, that's all really interesting for kids, but what does this have to do with me, an adult? Well, here's the thing. That childhood system, it doesn't just vanish. It kind of gets an upgrade. It forms what psychologists call an internal working model. But really, it just becomes the blueprint, the invisible map that you use to navigate all of your important adult relationships.
And your personal map? It gets drawn based on the answers you learned to two super fundamental questions way back in your earliest relationships. The first question is all about you. Am I actually worthy of love and care, or is there something kind of wrong with me? And the second one is about other people. Are people reliable? Can I really count on them to be there for me, or are they just going to abandon me or let me down?
So the way you answered those two questions, that combination creates your attachment style. It's basically your default setting for relationships. And you don't really see this setting when everything's calm and happy, right? No, it becomes most visible when you're under stress. Think about it, a fight with your partner, or that weird feeling when you're distant from a friend. That's when the map comes out. So let's look at how this plays out in three really common scenarios.
Now, this is super important. Please remember, these are not character flaws. They are brilliant survival strategies that you learned. So for example, if your core belief is something like, I have to cling to feel safe, you might have what's called an anxious attachment style. Under stress, this can look like needing constant reassurance. Maybe you're checking your phone obsessively for a text back, or you might even escalate a small disagreement just to get a reaction, any reaction, just to feel that connection. Now, if you learned I have to rely on myself and only myself, you might lean toward an avoidance style. When things get stressful, your instinct is to withdraw, to rationalize your feelings away. Maybe you get really uncomfortable when a partner shows a lot of emotion. And then for some people, if a caregiver was both a source of comfort and a source of fear, the map gets really confusing. It basically says closeness is danger, but being alone is also danger. This can lead to what's called a disorganized style, that confusing push-pull where you desperately crave intimacy but then shove it away the second it gets too close.
Okay, so if you recognize yourself in any of those descriptions, I know that can feel a little heavy. But please, stick with me because here comes the really, really good news. That map you've been carrying around, it is not a verdict. It is not a life sentence. It's just your starting point.
And this is where some amazing science comes in. It's called neuroplasticity, which is just a fancy way of saying our brains and our minds are changeable. They can be rewired. So just by understanding your map, just by knowing why you have these automatic gut reactions, you start to gain power over them. Your start in life absolutely does not have to be your destiny.
So, the question is, how do you actually do that? Okay, here's a simple, practical tool you can start using today. The very next time you feel that wave of overwhelming anxiety because your partner's being quiet or that icy urge to just run away after a moment of real closeness, I want you to try this. Step 1, just stop, whatever you're doing. Step 2, pause, take one deep breath. And step 3, ask yourself this one simple but incredibly profound question. What childhood part of me is scared right now? Just asking that question, that's the first step from being on autopilot to having conscious adult relationships.
And you know, that's really the gift of this whole theory. It doesn't give us labels to stick on ourselves and box ourselves in. What it gives us is a map to finally understand the landscape of our own fears and our hopes. And even better, it gives us a compass, the tools of awareness that can guide us toward what psychologists call earned security. That's a state where we, as adults, can finally give ourselves and the people we love the safety and connection we have always deserved. So take a look. What does your map tell you?